Hello everybody and welcome back to the Business Growth Club. This is your weekly edition from the Business Growth Club, and in this week's edition we're going to be looking at growing your return on investment from all of your marketing activities. Now you'll remember from last week's recording we looked at exactly what return on investment, ROI, actually is. We also looked at how to measure it, and we took quite some time explaining just how crucial a number your return on investment per marketing campaign is. This week we're going to continue the journey and we're going to look at some other ways that you can record return on investment using a free template that I've given to you, and I'll show you that once you know the number of return on investment for your marketing campaigns, how you can then multiply that income and grow that income, and I'll give you some practical examples. It'll lead into next week's video when we look at lifetime values, and a future video where we look at how you actually multiply your income based on this number. I did tell you in the beginning that return on investment is arguably the most boring but the most important number in all of business. And I mean that. It's incredibly boring from the perspective that it's just a number. My return on investment is X, Y, Z. It's not very interesting until you start to see how you can grow your business from it. Then it becomes an incredibly interesting number. Trust me, I recorded return on investment for many years without really fully appreciating just how important it was, and it became a very boring number. It was just a number on a page. Then I learned how to manipulate return on investment, and then it became a truly fascinating number. So I know now it may look like you're just recording return on investment for the sake of it. However, follow my advice when we look at how to manipulate and grow return on investment, and you'll transform marketing from being a numbers game that's a little boring, a little dry, a little dull, just something that's necessary that you have to do, into something that's truly fascinating, because you can do two very special things. First of all, you can predict your income for the future, so you can actually start to significantly grow, literally multiply your income. Secondly, you can predict today how much money you're going to have in the bank in 12 months' time, 24 months' time, 36 months' time. And trust me, that's quite a very interesting game to play. It's wonderful to look at your bank balance today at 50, 60,000 and say, as we implement all of the campaigns in 12 months' time, that's going to be 120 or 150,000. And we can say that in 3 years' time, it's going to be worth £500,000. Whatever, your numbers may look very different. Your numbers might be millions of pounds in the bank. It might be hundreds of pounds into a couple of £1,000s up to tens or 20 thousands of pounds. It doesn't really matter what the numbers are. What we're looking at is how we manipulate them, grow them, literally multiply them. Okay, well that's enough about the numbers and how we actually grow and multiply the numbers. Why don't we start recording them, because that's base number one, how to record the numbers so we can then manipulate them. So we'll get started by going over and looking at the free template I've given you, and I'll show you how to use it. Now, just scroll down to the bottom of this video and you'll see an Excel spreadsheet. You'll actually see two. One's in the modern version of Excel, one's in the old version, because apparently you have to save them in two versions because some people use a different version of Excel on their computer. But as long as you've got Microsoft Excel, no matter how old it is, you'll be able to download the appropriate one. Open it up, and I'm going to jump over to it now on the screen, and I'll show you how to use this template for your business. Okay, so here we are. We're in Excel. We've opened up a spreadsheet, and we're having a look at the spreadsheet, and we're going to see how to use it. The first bit is to see, I've just called it return on investment template. You can change it if you want, but basically it's very simple. The first column of campaign, in that campaign column we just write the marketing campaign in general. Now this is where most businesses go wrong. What they do is they figure out their total return on investment for the year. So they'll say, the year-end accounts, we've spent £10,000 on marketing and advertising, and we've brought in £30,000 worth of sales. Therefore, to spend £1, we bring in £3. That's interesting, but it's not actually very scalable, because it could be that you ran 4 marketing campaigns which were average, 1 or 2 which were absolutely dire, and 1 which is a gold mine. But you'll never know that it's a gold mine if you don't measure individual campaigns. So all we do in a campaign is write each of the campaigns you're running. Now I promise you it will only take you 2 minutes to do this per campaign, and we're going to see some of my examples in a minute where we'll put some numbers in and I'll show you how to complete the spreadsheet. So that's campaign. So as one very quick example here, I've put in advert in the Lawyer magazine April 2012. In the total income, that's all the income you had from sales. So I'm going to say from the advert in the Lawyer magazine in April 2012, we've made £2,000 of sales. Material cost, that's the literal cost of placing the advert. If it was direct mail, it would be the design, print and distribution, the postage as well, of your direct mail campaign. If it was networking, it would be the membership fee. If it was pay-per-click, it would be the amount of money on the pay-per-click budget and also your lead page or the video or whatever. So that's the literal cost of marketing. Remember, we looked at that last week. Staff costs, that's the cost again we looked at last week, where we said if you attended a couple of appointments, it might be £100 per appointment. I'm imagining here that I've put in £200 for the sake of argument. These are just Mickey Mouse figures, I've just put them in there to see what they're like. But then the net income you'll see is £1,500. £2,000 in sales, material cost of £300, £200 for costs, gives us £1,500. Now you don't have to be very good at maths, because the computer calculates it for you. So when you type in the figures, then it will give you the answer, and I'll show you my example in a minute how that works. Now you don't need to record any more than that. You're more than fine just to record the number of income you got, the actual sales income you got, and how much it costs, and that says £1,500. So if we make £1,500 from the Lawyer magazine advert, we'd be quite happy with that. If you want to take it one step further, you can record the stuff in the next box. Now in this box you can record the number of inquiries, the number of appointments that were generated, and the number of sales. And from that the computer automatically tells you the percentage conversion, your sales conversion, that is how many appointments you've converted into real sales, and also the sale per customer, which is quite an important figure. We'll be revisiting these in the future. You don't have to record these, I just believe they're quite useful diagnostic tools. Later on in this video I'll tell you why they're useful diagnostic tools. But I've just assumed here, let's say the advert gave us 10 inquiries, 10 people telephoning the office saying, I saw your advert. We managed to get 4 appointments with them, and we converted 2 of them into sales. Now the computer automatically tells us that that's a 50% conversion rate, 4 appointments, 2 sales, 50% conversion rate, and the average sale, this is the income per sale, not the revenue per sale, is £750. Why is it not £1,000? Because you'll recall we've got 2 customers and we had an income of £2,000. The reason it's not £1,000 is because we had costs that totaled £500. So actually we only brought in £1,500. So the income per sale is actually 1,500 divided by 2. Again, you don't have to worry about these numbers. Don't worry about the maths. The computer does it for you. Okay, so now let's look at some practical examples of how you'd fill this in. I've already put in some campaigns here, and we're just going to put in some Mickey Mouse numbers just to see how this works. So the first one I've typed here is advert in the Federation for Small Businesses magazine. Let's say that brought in £10,000, but the advert cost £5,000, and let's just say £500 to attend appointments. I'm guessing here, let's say 10 inquiries, 5 appointments, only 1 sale. Now, okay, £10,000, it was a big sale. It doesn't matter what the numbers are here, I'm just trying to show you how you complete this. So we had £10,000 worth of sales, £5,000 to place the advert, £500 for cost of attending the appointments, gave us a net income of £4,500. Okay, so we know that's how much we've made in actual profit, if you will. Now the reason that's so low is because the advert was £5,000. 10 inquiries, 5 appointments, 1 sale. Now the computer tells us that's a 20% conversion rate, which is low, too low I would say. But our income per sale is actually 4,500. Now that's not a bad sale. We're obviously selling an expensive product. Let's try a local advert. Let's say that only brought in £1,500. It cost £500 to place and a few £100 to attend appointments. Now the computer tells us our income is £800. If we try and type over this, the computer won't let us. That's because I've locked those cells, because the computer's doing the formula for you automatically. So you can be the worst mathematician in the world. All you need to say is, I'll put an advert in the paper, it gave me £1,500, that's how much sales I made. It cost £500 to place it, a nominal figure for attending the appointment gives me £800. Let's say we got 5 inquiries, we got 2 appointments, 2 sales, so we got 100% conversion, £400. Okay, now I'm going to look at something like pay-per-click. Imagine a pay-per-click campaign. So in this box here, we're going to say we made £1,500. We spent £200 on AdWords. Give £100 nominal figure for staffing costs, £1,200. So we know straight away. So if you know that we spent £200 on our budget plus a nominal figure there, £1,500. You can see how we know whether or not it's worth repeating the pay-per-click campaign. How would you repeat the pay-per-click campaign? You just increase your budget, and of course, if that was working, you try different search terms. Let's just say inquiries. Now, for pay-per-click, what an inquiry actually means is the number of people who downloaded your report, or subscribed to your mailing list, or filled in their details in the data capture form. Remember, I say you should only really be using pay-per-click to get data capture, otherwise you're losing so much. So let's imagine 10 people here downloaded our report or subscribed or whatever they were data capture. It led to 5 appointments, so 5 people over time responded to our ongoing marketing to the mailing list, approaching them for an appointment. Now, in reality, you probably wouldn't get such good rates. You probably wouldn't get 50% of the people who downloaded something becoming having an appointment. But let's just imagine. Let's imagine you converted 2 of them. So we know that's a 40% conversion rate. And of course, it tells us £600 is the amount of income after costs we've made per customer. So we know that whilst we made 2 sales, it's £600. That's useful information. A lot of you will know why that's useful information. For those of you who don't, I'll be showing you in future videos how to use that figure, and I'll show you how it really is useful information. So that's how you would do your pay-per-click campaigns. So I'm not going to give you any more examples. You can see there I've typed in some different campaigns, but I don't want to labour the point. You can see it's quite simple. What I would invite you to do, you can pause this video now if you want, or you can listen to the rest of the video and do it later. Just open up this spreadsheet, type in the marketing campaigns you've been running, and do this exercise. It won't take you very long. Don't worry if for now your figures aren't totally accurate. If you're just approximating, that's fine. They're still very valuable bits of information. What we'll do next week is we'll take some samples and we'll actually show you what you do with those figures. Now, if you would like to, you can actually send me your return on investment template, and we'll look at yours next week, and we'll see how you could actually multiply your income and how you could use these figures to really predict your income and grow your income. Of course, if you send it to me, we will anonymize it all. So we won't say this is John Smith and John Smith Limited. We'll just make it entirely anonymous. We'll anonymize the campaigns if we need to. I can obviously give you examples for my own business, and I can kind of make stuff up that's based on reality, what people generally get. But if you want to send some of your own, obviously we'll be using even more real-life examples. And of course, I'm only recording here the type of marketing that I'm very used to doing. But some of you out there might be doing very different types of campaigns. So if you want to, you can send me your completed spreadsheet, and we'll use some of those examples as well, so I can show you how a real business can predict their income, grow their income, multiply their income. And that brings us to the end of today's recording. I hope it's been useful, and I hope when you complete the spreadsheet you'll find it only takes you a few minutes, but as we'll see when we continue the journey in next week's video, how those figures that have only taken you a few minutes to determine literally can grow and multiply your income. If you get stuck using the spreadsheet, especially the numbers, I know it can be confusing if you're not used to doing it, then feel free to ask us any questions. Very often what's a big problem for you will take 2 seconds for us to sort. It sometimes works that way round, so please don't worry if you're struggling, you're not quite sure how to complete the spreadsheet or how to use it for your business. Please ask us the questions, I'll be more than happy to help. So, you'll hear from me again in a week's time. Until then, I hope you have a brilliant week in business. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye for now.